For years, the public had grown accustomed to carefully worded palace statements, messages crafted with diplomacy, restraint, and enough ambiguity to leave room for interpretation. But this time, something felt different. What many expected to be another measured royal update quickly became one of the most talked-about developments surrounding the royal family in recent memory. The controversy centered around claims and allegations that Meghan had previously made regarding her experiences within royal life. Critics argued that her version of events did not accurately reflect what had happened behind palace walls, and that her public accounts had created a perception many insiders believed was misleading. While debates surrounding those claims had continued for years, a new statement from Prince William appeared to signal that the monarchy was preparing to move forward with a much clearer vision of its future. What shocked observers was not just the content of the message, but the directness with which it was delivered. Rather than speaking about reconciliation, future possibilities, or family healing, William reportedly focused on the future of the institution itself. Those who follow royal affairs closely immediately sensed the significance of his words. This was not a discussion about temporary arrangements. It was a declaration about long-term direction. And according to palace insiders, William fully understood the impact his words would have before they were ever made public. As the future king, William has spent years preparing for the responsibilities that one day await him. While family relationships remain important, he has increasingly emphasized the importance of defining clear boundaries when it comes to royal service and public representation. Sources suggest that before the announcement was finalized, several versions of the statement were reviewed. Earlier drafts reportedly contained softer language that focused only on current circumstances. However, William allegedly felt that temporary wording would simply create future confusion. He wanted certainty. He wanted the public to understand exactly where the monarchy stood. And most importantly, he wanted to eliminate the ambiguity that had surrounded discussions about potential future roles within the royal family. According to reports, even King Charles carefully reviewed the final wording before it was released. The king reportedly understood that once the statement became public, there would be no easy way to reverse the message it sent. The decision was not made overnight. In fact, those close to the situation claim that William had been wrestling with these issues for months. When news of the announcement reportedly reached California, reactions inside Harry and Meghan's household were said to be immediate. Observers claim that Meghan carefully reread the statement multiple times, trying to fully absorb its implications. What stood out was not necessarily anger or frustration, but the realization that the possibility of future official royal involvement appeared to be narrowing significantly. For Harry, the situation carried a different emotional weight. As someone who remains connected to both worlds, his royal heritage and the life he has built outside the institution, the announcement reportedly felt deeply personal. While William viewed the matter through the lens of protecting the future of the monarchy, Harry was believed to see it as another chapter in the growing distance between two brothers who were once inseparable. At the center of the issue was a fundamental disagreement about loyalty, duty, and identity. William's perspective has long been shaped by his belief that royal service requires consistency, commitment, and sacrifice. In his view, representing the crown is not something that can be adjusted according to personal circumstances. Meghan, on the other hand, has often spoken about independence and the challenges she faced within royal life. Supporters argue that she sought the freedom to define her own path while still maintaining certain connections to causes and charitable initiatives she cared deeply about. Harry remained caught between these two competing visions. And as the debate intensified, what had once been private disagreements increasingly became public discussions. According to reports, one key moment that influenced William's thinking occurred during a private royal gathering months earlier. The event itself was routine, a reception connected to charitable initiatives and future projects. However, behind closed doors, a conversation reportedly took place that would have lasting consequences. Sources claim that Meghan raised the possibility of participating in selected royal-related events without formally returning as a full-time working royal. To some, the proposal seemed reasonable. To William, it raised concerns about uncertainty. Those familiar with his thinking say he worried that allowing limited participation could blur the lines between active royal representatives and family members who had chosen a different path. During the discussion, William reportedly emphasized that public representation of the crown required clear expectations and responsibilities. The conversation remained calm, but it left a lasting impression. From that point forward, William allegedly became increasingly convinced that the monarchy needed more defined boundaries. As future plans for the institution were being discussed, advisors and senior family members reportedly examined how royal roles might operate during William's eventual reign. The goal was simple: clarity. Who represents the crown? Who speaks on behalf of the monarchy? And where should the line be drawn between personal family relationships and official royal responsibilities? Those questions became central to the discussions taking place behind palace walls. King Charles reportedly understood the difficult position facing his eldest son. As both a father and monarch, he was confronted with competing responsibilities. On one side stood family relationships, on the other stood the long-term stability of the institution. Sources suggest that while Charles understood the emotional consequences of the decision, he ultimately chose not to stand in William's way. Once the announcement was released, attention immediately shifted across the Atlantic. Phone calls reportedly began circulating among advisors, family contacts, and communications teams. Questions emerged about what the announcement would mean in practical terms and whether any future compromises remained possible. Meanwhile, public reaction exploded. Across Britain, commentators debated whether William had acted responsibly by protecting the institution or whether the decision risked deepening family divisions. Radio programs filled with callers sharing strong opinions. Television networks replayed key portions of the statement. Social media became flooded with arguments from supporters and critics alike. Some praised William for providing clarity and demonstrating leadership. Others questioned whether a more flexible approach might have preserved opportunities for future reconciliation. Yet beneath all the headlines and analysis, the story remained deeply personal. Reports suggest that Harry eventually reached out directly to William in an effort to understand the reasoning behind the decision. The conversation reportedly stripped away titles, protocols, and official language. For a brief moment, it was no longer about princes, heirs, or royal duties. It was simply about two brothers. Harry reportedly questioned why the future seemed to be framed in such final terms. William's response, according to sources, focused not on personalities but on principles. He allegedly argued that ambiguity had created problems for years and that someone ultimately needed to define where official royal responsibilities began and ended. The exchange was emotional. It was difficult. And while neither side appeared to change its position, both reportedly left the conversation with a better understanding of the other's perspective. As dawn arrived the following morning, many had expected an immediate public response from Harry. It never came. That silence became a story in itself. Across Britain and beyond, people began interpreting the absence of a counterstatement in countless different ways. Some viewed it as restraint. Others saw it as disappointment. Still others believed it reflected the complexity of emotions involved when family relationships collide with institutional responsibilities. Whatever the truth may be, one thing became clear. This was no longer merely a disagreement between family members. It had become a defining debate about the future direction of the monarchy itself. And as Prince William continues preparing for the day he becomes king, many observers believe that moments like this reveal the kind of reign he intends to lead, one focused on structure, clarity, and clearly defined roles, even when those decisions come with significant personal costs. Whether history ultimately judges that approach as necessary or controversial remains to be seen. But for now, the discussion continues, the questions remain, and the future of the royal family remains one of the most closely watched stories in the world.